Good morning, everybody. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. You guys can hear me right, huh? Just got to check on this every now and then. Make sure everything's working. It's Monday morning. Weird weather this week. I mean, I hate starting with the weather, but like it was yesterday, it was raining, then it was sunny, then it was raining, then it was sunny, then it rained and it was sunny at the same time. I think like if there's ever going to be an apocalypse, that's the kind of weather that's going to come before.
It's called a monkey's wedding.
Yes.
Which is ironic considering there was a baboon on the loose in Johannesburg yesterday.
All right.
A bao.
That's the noise they make, right?
Yes. Bao.
I'm quite excited. I'm going to the whole family. We're going in June on another little game reserve thing, and because I enjoyed it so much in November, I'm actually really excited about it, even though it's some way away. At the book,
June's a good time to go because of it being winter and the shrubbery is thinner.
Yeah, you can see more things.
Isn't that a quote that you'll find on the back of a sugar sachet? Happiness is having something to look forward to.
A short shrubbery. Yes, that's true. That's true. They do say you have to have something to look forward to. Hey, listen, I saw an incredible thing over the weekend, and it made me think again about the way we live for Fridays and the way we live for weekends. And it's this dude on Instagram that I follow, and he's like, he really can't understand why people live for those 2 days where they feel that they can be free when you can feel that way about every day, including Mondays. He said it's sad to him that everybody is, even though this pandemic has changed the way that we live, and days feel like each other, even if they are weekends or weekdays.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
Sia, and Leigh-Ann, you also work on weekends, so it's not like it's not like weekends are particularly free of something that you do during the week, or vice versa. And this guy was just saying, like, you spend the weekdays working, and then over the weekend you might think about work a little bit, but you don't consider it work just because it's the weekend. It's this ridiculous industrial revolution thinking that has got people obsessed with the weekend, and actually we shouldn't think that way, which I suppose is a good way of going about things.
It's sad, but I know a lot of people who live and who think like that, who live for days off, who live for long weekends, who live for retirement, or that breath of a month if they're between jobs. Granted, it probably was a little too much liquor in the system, but I'll never forget a friend of mine who had a bit of a meltdown. There's this song that came out, I'll say easily 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. It's a South African DJ. And it's like, if you actually pay attention to the lyrics, you're like, oh, these are actually really cool lyrics. But there's a phrase there in the song that says, "We live for the weekends." And she goes, "Did you hear that? We live for the weekends when some of us are just stuck." And I'm like, you are not, ma'am, about to break down in tears in the middle of a good time.
So it affected her that badly during the song? Wow.
In public, I thought, okay,
that is wild.
This is really sad.
Jesus. No, I mean, listen, I love my weekends, I always have, because it means for me that the only really cool difference between weekends and weekdays is that I don't have to wake up early, except that on Saturday morning, I had to wake up at 5:45 because I had to go and babysit my nephew.
So early.
I know. So my sister-in-law said to me, "Please, can you come and look after the youngest one, because the oldest one has to go and play cricket. And she was on her own because my brother was away for the weekend." So I was like, I was thinking about, should I come up with some excuse, or should I just man up and do this? So I was like, you know what? I'm probably, because I had something on Friday night, I'm probably going to get to bed quite late, but bugger it, I'm going to do this. So I said to her, sure, I'll be there. Oh man. You know, when you do look forward to sleeping in on a Saturday, which I
Mm.
really do, waking up, it just does feel like a punishment. So I got my shit together and I went over to their place, and she and the eldest kid on the way to cricket, and they're all excited and full of energy. And I suddenly thought, I have such a respect for parents who have to do this every weekend,
Yep.
Oh,
with sport for the kids or whatever. And then I sat in their TV room and I was kind of just chilling there and waiting, and then I sort of lay down on the sofa, and I was thinking, oh, I could maybe go to sleep, but I should really be awake in case the younger one wakes up, because that was the purpose for me being there, right?
mm.
He only walked in after like 3/4 of an hour, or in fact an hour and a half. So he was only awake for the last 15 minutes of my babysitting. So I really didn't have much of a job. It was pathetic.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, it
I
turned
w-
out to be really easy work,
Yeah.
the funny thing is, I was already formulating an answer. Then I realized I am not the expert on
No,
childcare or children
no.
in general. But I was thinking, oh, he's at that age, plonk him in front of the TV,
Yeah.
give him a
Oh, no,
snack or two, and he can sort himself out.
no, well, that was it. He was totally chilled. And then by the time that he had kind of rubbed his eyes and woken up properly, his mom and his brother were back. So I didn't really have much of a job, but it was
Delightful.
quite cool. Yeah, no, it's cool. And I just the scary thing is, like, what if he had woken up straight away and I had to entertain him for like an hour and a half, 2 hours?
Mm.
Then it would have been difficult.
So obviously, with Joey gone, my parents don't have a dog grandchild anymore. But the timing's good because my brother's looking at getting a little dog, adopting this beautiful Jack Russell Foxy Cross. And so we were showing my dad the pictures because this will be the week that they come and inspect and do all of that.
Yeah.
And he went, oh, another dog. Because we, he said to my brother, what are you going to do when you go away? And we were like, Dad, we'll sort it out. We're almost 40 or 40 something. We'll figure it out. And my brother said, I could even bring her here. And his face kind of froze. And I said, Dad, you do realize that you have no human grandchildren. If I had 4 kids and Mark had 4 kids and the 2 of us decided to go away without kids, you'd be sitting with 8 kids in your house.
Oh,
exactly.
You would have to feed them, take them to McDonald's, console them while they're crying, change nappies, put them to sleep, all of that. And he was like, okay, no, you're completely right.
Uh-huh.
I'll take one Jack Russell over that.
So on that note, I saw a really cute story over the weekend. Apparently, while Prince Philip was in hospital, the Queen actually adopted 2 corgi puppies. They were rescues. And
oh, wow.
her thinking, because she said she wasn't going to have any more puppies because she's so old, and it would be unfair on whoever had to inherit the puppies. But she apparently spoke to her kids and her grandkids, and she said, listen, I'm not going to be wandering around Windsor Castle on my own, only talking to the servants. So I'm going to get 2 puppies. So she did. She got 2 little corgis, and they were running around. And she's like, what, in a mid-90s?
Yeah, easily.
As long as they go well and better than Major at the White House.
Oh, shame.
That's Joe Biden's dog that was sent home, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Behavioral issues.
He bit one of the Secret Service agents or one of the White House staff.
Yeah. He's very protective.
It won't be long before Joe Biden starts biting the staff. He's so deranged. He gave this press conference the other day. I wonder if I can find a clip of that, because, oh my God, is it bad?
Really?
He basically, please watch it. I'm not going to find it now because
I can't watch it. It's too uncomfortable.
It really is. Here's the sad thing is if that was your grandfather, you'd say to him, listen, Granddad, please just don't do any interviews anymore, or don't go on TV, because it's horrible to see a person in decline. It's horrible to see someone who's not in charge of their mental faculties anymore, who doesn't really, there's nothing he can do about it. Like he can't act, he can't pretend, he can't even follow a script at this stage. It's very hard for him to to appear like he's totally in control of his mouth or his brain. He wanders off. He'll start talking. He said, let me tell you something. It's going to sound outrageous. And everybody's like, okay, whoa, this is going to be a good thing he says now. And then he goes, I can make things happen in the Senate, and if you got something that's really near and dear to you and you hold things close. And he goes, anyway.
Oh dear.
He goes, anyway, we're going to do a lot of things. We're going to get a lot of things done. And, you get that awkward, you get that funny feeling, and then you feel sorry for this dude because he's a very old man. I was thinking about the fact that, you can't run for president in America unless you're 35 years or older. So there's a lower limit. There should be an upper limit. There should be an upper limit of maybe it should be 75, maybe it should be 70, who knows? But you can't have some 90-year-old running the United States of America and making the commander-in-chief's decisions. I mean, he has to have, even if he's got a really good team around him, and I don't know whether Biden does or doesn't, he's got to have someone around him who can help make the call about whether or not this guy should be in charge. When he, he can't even deliver he can't answer any questions, by the way. I mean, you remember how Trump used to get off?
Wouldn't this have been his first press conference as president? And that's how he sounded? Ooh.
That's right. 64 days into his presidency, he gives his first press conference. Now, Trump used to get off the plane or off the helicopter, and he'd stand in front of a hostile media for 20 minutes and answer any question, right? He was prepared for any question. Didn't have notes, none of that stuff. And he would answer questions. And the media weren't exactly Trump fans. None of them were. So now you contrast that with old Joe, who has to prepare. I mean, he had notes with pictures. He had photographs of all the different reporters and and a whole bunch of really easy to read little cards in big font. And you're like, really? There's a huge difference between these two men. And the one was 5 or 6 years younger or whatever. But it makes a difference. And I'm not saying all 78-year-olds are the same, but this guy's not in any position to be running things. I'm sorry. Very, very sad to see. So it won't be long before he bites a security guard or something. Watch.
Oh, shame.
It's going to go horribly wrong.
Why am I picturing, just out of fun, Vice President Harris sits at home after a tough work day. She sits in her armchair, humming A Change Is Gonna Come, and she's busy she's sewing on, or she's sewing on her own initials on the towels as president. She's sewing President Harris on the new towels, and then she's putting on new seat covers that say President Harris, and then her niece is busy graphic designing President Harris seals that'll go onto new doors and stuff.
For sure. And she's laughing about migrant children at the border. Kamala Harris just thinks everything's hilarious. Every time they ask her about anything serious, she just starts laughing. But I do think there's something really, really wrong there. And somebody, someone has to take responsibility for this, because you can't just pretend everything's okay. It's really not. All you have to do is watch. You'll see what we mean. Amir says, "Is this Fox News?" No, Amir. I mean, how can you think that is a biased comment? We haven't said anything mean about Joe. We're just being honest about this old man who doesn't know what the hell's going on. Trump and his admin had trouble giving a straight answer to anything. The amount of bullshit that came out of that man's mouth, says Tracy. Tracy, he could answer
or he would just tell everyone to shut up.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that's not wrong. But at least he could face the media, This guy can't. This guy's just, he's a disaster. Anyway, morning, everybody. And I got lots of good mornings here from Hugo and Jesse and Charles and Annette. And, you just got to let people know that we get your messages. So thank you for those.
Good morning.
You can get hold of us on 079-748-2090. There's lots of things to talk about today. I've got a range of them here. But I'm going to probably go to KZN this weekend for the Easter weekend, which I'm looking forward to. Except,
fun.
Yeah, except I looked at the weather report and I circled like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it's all rain.
Oh, boo.
Yeah, that's really shitty,
Isn't it
right?
so disappointing?
Well, I hope the weather report's wrong because I really wanted to just go down to the beach for a day, just because I'm not one of those who goes to the beach and then sits on the beach. I want to get into the water. And if it's raining, it's never really nice. I like to get in there. That's why I like KZN over the Cape in terms of the coast.
Yeah,
All right.
it was so icky when I was there as well. I think we only had a few hours of great sunshine, but even with those few hours, it was still a little windy. So, not the best situation at all. Oh, but can I tell you a bit of an awkward incident that I had this weekend?
Go on.
Well, it wasn't actually this weekend now that I think, but I think it was Friday night. Yeah. I went out for dinner with my cousin.
Yes.
And our table was next to this bar at the restaurant. And there was a guy standing at the bar, and we're very sociable people. So he's talking to us, and then a conversation starts going. And you get to figure out that someone is trying to flirt with you. So I thought, okay, well, this is happening. Oh, sure, sir. And he's asking,
trying to flirt with you,
flirting with me, where I grew up, and what do I do? And so we're having all of those conversations. Then he throws in, he was fluent in my favorite language of all, which is compliments. So he was throwing that my way. So this is fantastic. And it goes on and on and on for a while. And then he says, excuse me, a phone call comes in. And then he turns around and he takes it very hush hush in the corner. For me, it's always a bit weird. It's like, I don't know. I'm not bothered by it. Maybe you guys are. If someone, rather, I am bothered by it. If someone takes a call in the corner, like we were having a conversation, you just excuse yourself. Clearly, then you have something to hide. But then he says, oh, sorry, I actually have to go outside. And then he leaves. And after a few minutes, he comes back with a woman. And as he comes back, he says very emphatically to me, he says, hi, this is my wife, so-and-so. She is my wife. And and he says it like twice again to reiterate very forcefully. She goes, yeah, my wife is joining us now. So I go, am I in the middle of a scandal?
Basically, this dude was flirting with you. And he was making moves.
He's married.
Ooh.
Now, did I not end up taking a particular liking to the wife? And she's like, oh my gosh, when you're back in Durban, we need to hang out. I'm like, girl, you don't want to hang out with me if you knew what was happening 20 minutes ago.
That's a hell of a story. I mean, that's exciting. But at the same time, it's not great for her, right?
Look, there is a particular, there's this 10% of an urge that says to me, oh, let me carry on with this. Let me see how much of a mess it can become. Like, what if I rock up with short shorts at my, quote unquote, friend's house, this girl, and then the husband is there. Then I go, oh, hey there, Joe. Want to give it a go? I could be like a homewrecker.
Let's not have any dramas here, please. You know what to do. Stay away.
Oh, God, it would be so exciting.
Dangerous.
No. I think
I did get her number. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh no! So there's a possibility. Shit.
No, I wouldn't do it, but it's just interesting that I'm now caught in this web unnecessarily.
When you said that you had a story from the weekend, I thought you were going to tell us about how you were delayed at the airport and you got drunk in the slow lounge and then hopped on the plane.
Oh, jeez.
You had a few drinks.
Oh no! Another awkward story from Sia.
Come on. We got 2 from you this morning and none from Leigh-Ann yet. This is a very busy morning.
Have you ever had those realizations that you're way drunker than you realize you are? And that's what happened to me over the weekend. I was meant to fly out at 6 p.m. on Saturday, and I'd gotten to the airport and I was all checked in. And then they tell us, oh, sorry, no, now we'll be leaving at 7 something p.m. So I thought, oh, this is a bit of an inconvenience. But in any case, I was sitting at the airport. It is really annoying. But at that time, I was sitting in the lounge and my phone was charging. So I thought, oh, I'll just get a drink. And I had my laptop with me. So I really was preoccupying my own time. I was fine. But then 7 something p.m. turns into like 8, and then 8 turns into 8:30, and then 8:30 turns into 8:45. And I'm thinking, this is really escalating. We finally leave at about 9, but throughout all of this time, I don't realize that I myself was just getting up every so often and going to the bar and getting a drink and going to the bar again, getting a drink and then again. And it hit me when I got to the plane and we were mid-air. Then I needed to pee. I go into the loo and then I realize, see, it's easily been about 5+ minutes that you've been in here, either talking to yourself, you're having those deep philosophical conversations of the meaning of my life. Then I was singing to myself. Then I took horrible, awkward videos. So I had to share them with people. I thought, oh, you are so plastered.
Oh, man.
Oh, my Lord. What were the people sitting next to you thinking?
Who knows what the people were thinking that I left for so long. But thank goodness, as soon as I landed, I even actually had to ask my Uber driver to come into the airport to pick me up. I was like, sir, please, like, right now I need you here to help me with my suitcase and whatnot. He was a champ and very nice. But
you were a bit of a mess then when you landed.
He's like, did you drink more on the plane?
No.
Is that one of those situations where when you got home, you were already starting to get to like sleepy drunk? So you basically got to your house and then you didn't even unpack your bag. You kind of wheeled it in and then you fell into your bed and you just went to sleep in the clothes you were wearing.
Oh, usually I don't even sleep. I'm not a person who likes to sleep in an Uber because the killer. But
yes,
by the time I was already in the Uber, I thought, well, Jesus, take the wheel and let the killer do what he has to do. I was passed out in the Uber as well.
Oh, man. Sounds messy.
Yeah. It was a good weekend, though. I won't complain.
Good for you. We need to have this fun in our lives, don't we? I think that's hilarious. That's so funny.
Yeah, we need something to hang on to these days. The small things, little exciting things.
So apparently, this is an interesting point by Winsterian Pikachu. I love that name, by the way. The altitude also adds to the effect of alcohol. Never drink before or on a plane. It is a trap. That's interesting.
Okay.
I've heard that before, but I don't really know much more than what Winsterian Pikachu is saying here. So I think that's interesting. And Tracy has this to say. She says, that guy who was hitting on you, in Sia's case, would be, I like a guy in a short and a long jacket. I'm not sure what she means exactly.
I don't know.
But this COVID Solutions says, I'd like to talk about Johan Rupert's ANC leadership reshuffle and his threats to not pay Cyril his salary if he doesn't do his job. Well, that was a story by IOL, which we know is really just a fake news organization. I mean, IOL, Independent Online, the various publications that it owns, Iqbal Serve, we know that they're very much in the pocket of the radical economic transformation wing of the ANC. So I think this is a disinformation campaign because there have been outright denials by Rupert that he's got anything to do with any of this. And the whole story is based on alleged and supposed things that have been said to a journalist who's not particularly connected. So a lot of people are saying, well, this is just IOL doing, propaganda work, basically being stenographers for the ANC and a particular faction of the ANC. So I'm not sure I would give that too much credence. I actually read the Sunday Times yesterday just to see what's going on in newspapers. I haven't picked up a newspaper for ages, but I was at the shops. I had to go and buy some like milk and stuff. So I picked up a Sunday Times just to see what was going on over there. And really, you're not missing much if you're not picking up the papers. It's pretty dead. You get more information, you get better information in different places. It used to be that newspapers were your best possible place to check in. And the Sunday Times is still better than anything Independent Online brings out. But when I see IOL is the source of a story, I treat it with 50-50 legitimacy. And I think that's probably a safe way to go. We know that particularly when it comes to reporting on ANC matters, the IOL group is really not to be trusted. So that's all I would say there, COVID solutions. I wouldn't give it too much serious consideration. We've got to get to the headlines for this morning, so let's do that quickly, and we'll come up with all the rest in a few minutes. We've also got plenty of other good stuff heading our way, and then a guest joining us a little bit later, the founder of No One Left Behind, which is probably something we should be thinking about post-pandemic. All this talk of a third wave, and all the experts are saying there's no such thing. It's almost like there are people in society who want there to be a third wave. They want there to be something to panic about. And I'm a little bit concerned that some people are suffering from a Stockholm syndrome where they need an existential threat to keep on being afraid, which is kind of their default setting now. And I don't think that's a healthy place to be, psychologically at very least. So let's look at some of the headlines that are coming up in the news at the moment. The first one is from ENCA. Dozens killed in Mozambique. And Sia, you had some paranoia, anxiety about this. I mean, this is really close by, and there are South Africans involved, apparently. Dozens of people killed in a coordinated jihadist attack in northern Mozambique's Palma town, the government said on Sunday, 4 days after the raid was launched, and forced the evacuation of thousands of survivors to safety in the provincial capital of Pemba. 7 people were killed in an ambush during an operation to evacuate them from a hotel where they had sought refuge, it said. Last Wednesday, a group of terrorists sneaked into Palma and launched actions that resulted in the cowardly murder of dozens of defenseless people. That's what the spokesperson for the Ministry of Defense in Mozambique said at a news conference. Foreigners were among those caught in the violence, but the government did not say how many foreign nationals were killed. So far, 1 South African is known to have died during the attack. His family confirmed that to AFP. Unbelievable, right? This is right next door. This is a country that directly borders on us. And I remember when we were talking about Islamist insurgents in, first of all, Somalia, then we were talking about it in Sudan, then we were talking about it in Ethiopia, then we were talking about it in Kenya with that mall attack, then we were talking about it in Tanzania. And as you come lower and lower down, you get closer and closer to us. And for the last few months, we have brought this up with JJ Cornish. We discussed it with him in the African Analysis segment of the show once. It's right next door. It's on our doorstep now.
It is scary.
We've been close to it before with the bombing of Planet Hollywood in Cape Town years and years ago. But there's been nothing since then. So this is very scary. Sure.
Well, that you could call that some kind of Islamist attack, but it certainly wasn't related to the efforts of Boko Haram on this side. Sorry, Boko Haram. Al-Shabaab is on the East Coast, so that's who we're talking about. But really, in this case, it's the whole Islamic side of this, and I'm not the biggest fan of religious jihad. I mean, who is? Except for the jihadists themselves. But the fact is that in this case, really, religion is just a shield being used for a criminal organization. These are criminals who are murdering, extorting, and enslaving people. And taking their stuff so that they can run a criminal operation. And Islam is just the excuse for it. I don't believe that Islam is necessarily the greater part of why they're doing this. It just happens to be the call around which they can recruit people and around which they can justify, because people are much more careful with religion than they are with outright crime. So I think in this case it's being used. I really do.
I realize that it is a little selfish to only really be hung up on your emotions around something like this because it's happening so close. But it's somewhat human nature that when it pertains to you, when it's close to you, you really care. But man, I think we're all slightly desensitized every now and then with stories like this because unfortunately they happen so often. But think about what all of this means. This is Mozambique, our neighbor. When you hear that hundreds of people are fleeing, even if it's 200, to me it's 200 too many. These are people who were, and I'm sure if we haven't, we know people in our circle who go to Mozambique, who go to a resort, and it's all good and well, and then they have to run. How can you imagine having to literally start running? Or then some people were interrupted and caught in convoys as they were fleeing. How backward and far-fetched does this seem? It seems like a movie plot to me.
Yeah.
It's
something from where the orcs are coming in Lord of the Rings, and people have to abandon the city, run across the river.
It's crass, I know, to look at the details like this, but the South African who died had to hide in a bush with his son. And actually, at that point, he was already dead, but the son had to keep the corpse of his body, of his father's body, in the bush overnight, just for dignity of keeping on to father's body, and then had to flee in the morning when it was safe. I can't even imagine that. And it's happening a few hours or a couple of kilometers away from us. I think this is crazy. So now the South African family who's affected by this is calling on the Mozambican authorities to really have a safer and more stronger army. But the fact that this is still happening is out of my mind.
They've been called by South Africans to say, shouldn't we be sending troops there? But I'm just concerned, as is the former editor of the Sunday Times. His name's just eluded me, but I'll get to it in a second. He was just saying, if we do send our army, are we sure that they're not going to make it worse because they're so useless? If we send our army, it's going to be even more embarrassing for us. And then those guys will know, oh, well, South Africa's a good target because they've got a crap army. Maybe better if we just shut up and mind our own business. I don't know. I'm not in charge, thank goodness. Thank goodness for all of us. It appears that the ANC's National Executive Committee meeting that was set to resolve the impasse over the future of the Secretary General, Ace Magashule, has failed to reach a decision. Of course they have, because they are a party that's being torn apart. They're at the end of their life cycle, and the ANC is absolutely in decline. It's understood attempts to give those affected 7 days to step aside or face suspensions were met with resistance from some in the virtual meeting. The ANC-NEC, which is the party's highest decision-making body in between conferences, held an ordinary meeting, dealt with burning issues, though, including the COVID-19 vaccine rollout plan, which is really lackluster, and local government elections. But the most of the discussions focused on issues affecting the ANC themselves. No surprise there. And they were trying to figure out what they should do with Ace Magashule. And of course, they can't, because half of the people are on Ace's side and half of the people are on Cyril's side. So it's a disaster. Top officials even stepped out of the gathering to hold their own meeting, requesting 14 days to consult, which was rejected by some. It's unreal. We don't know what's going to happen here, but I do think it's going to result in the complete breakdown of ANC unity, and they'll eventually split into two parties. That's what the smart money is on at the moment. So let's see what happens. I mean, I'm not going to cry when the ANC splits up. I'm not going to say, oh, this is terrible news. It could be the best thing for South Africa. In fact, we should all be hoping for that if you want anything but a banana republic. And in Johannesburg, the South African Council of Churches have urged congregants to avoid social gatherings ahead of the Easter period. Easter, of course, for Christians is probably, in some cases, more important than Christmas. And people are worried about particularly those very big gatherings in Maria, the ZCC church.
I found out yesterday that ZCC members have the special funeral insurance.
Oh, right.
Because their risk of dying at that time of the year is so much higher.
Oh,
What?
really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I heard that from my mom's carer yesterday.
Wow.
She's not a Zionist, but she knows of this fact.
Huh.
Well, they want to keep churches open over the religious holidays. So they're doing what Joe Biden did with the border. They're saying, we do want you to come, but don't all come at once. You know what I mean? They're kind of saying two things, but they seem to be cognitive. There seems to be cognitive dissonance going on. So they're saying they want the churches to be open, but please don't all come, which is strange because how do you decide which people must stay at home and which ones must go?
And do you have like hourly sermons or something?
Yeah, I don't know, but they're saying that the president has requested places of worship be reopened to a 50% capacity. Worshippers come from all around. We've said that this time nobody must travel to a central church. It must be wherever you are, which again sounds bizarre. Why don't they just say, we don't want you to go to Maria for the ZCC gathering because it's too many people? I suppose it'll sound like they're victimizing those people, right? There's been a massive fire in Indonesia at an oil refinery. It broke out at the Balongan refinery, which is run by state oil firm Pertamina, at midnight on Monday. So that was last night. 5 people are injured. It's expected to increase. Around 950 residents have been evacuated to safety. And it looks from the pictures like a really frightening incident. TV footage and video on social media showed the fire raging on Monday morning, with a plume of smoke rising high above the refinery, located in West Java province. And it looks like it's a hell of a disaster. So unfortunately for the people of Indonesia, waking up with fire and smoke and a very ugly situation there. And in Brisbane, in Australia, they've shut down the whole city over 7 cases of COVID. Yep, you just heard that. Australia and New Zealand had very strict lockdowns and quarantine period for anyone coming in and all that kind of thing. And they've more or less kept it under control by being unbelievably draconian. The problem is that when you're draconian, some things will slip through the cracks because you can't keep track of every single person. And there are over 2 million residents of Brisbane. Those 2 million people are now going to be completely shut down. That means they can't do or go anywhere. Can't do anything, go anywhere. And that is because they found 7 new cases. So
it's such a contrast to what Australia really is as an island full of wild creatures and dangerous creatures. Well, where things literally run wild. And then this huge contrast of trying to control absolutely everything.
They've decided that they are going to lock down completely. Health officials are yet to determine how the virus leaked into the community. They say it's potentially linked to a hospital doctor who was infectious 2 weeks ago. Queensland Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk, that's her real name, said the discovery of 4 more local cases reported on Monday shows there was more community transmission. And there was a story in the news, I haven't got the source with me at the moment, that apparently New Zealand is possibly dealing with having their hospitals overrun at the moment too, from an Australian news site. But I'm not going to read that story out until I've actually got the article in front of me. So I'll try and find that in the next while. But you can't avoid this thing. It's how viruses work. And Tracy says Australia's motto is, you can see a dangerous animal, but you can't see a virus. I still love the place. Can't wait for the next visit. All right, very good. That's the news. Those are the only headlines that I thought would matter to you this morning. So if you needed to know,
I was waiting for a baboon story.
Well, yeah, we're waiting for that from you.
So, yeah, you tell us the baboon story. I don't know much about this.
So this baboon, which is purported to have come from the Cradle area, has left. What happens is these older baboons, males, tend to leave the troop at a certain point because it's just a natural thing for them to do to avoid inbreeding. So they go and try and find another troop to join. And this is why he started this long, auspicious journey of going off to start his own line and his own brood.
Baboons care about incest.
Yes, baboons care about incest. So he started making his way all down the west of Johannesburg, eventually coming into Westdean and Linden. And it was yesterday morning where we got the alert that he was really close to my suburb, and he was moving at such a rapid pace. And basically like a criminal.
Maybe he caught an Uber.
No, like a criminal, he ran between properties, over walls and into gardens. Excuse me. And people had to put their dogs away, because if a dog tries to attack him, just like any human, he's going to retaliate and try and protect himself and attack the animal.
Sure.
So everyone was locking away their animals. And I then got into the car because I was going to see my parents, and found myself in the suburb that he was in. And there was a bit of excitement. You know, I was at Checkers. There were a couple of people saying they'd seen him just down the road. And then I drove from there to my mom's, and almost at the same speed, my mom is in Parktown North. He was in Parktown North.
So he moved.
That's how fast he was traveling.
Maybe it's like catching a lift on the back of a bucky and nobody knows. Hopping on there, you know? So
there were loads of videos going around of people filming him in their gardens and climbing. How he didn't get shot by electric fences, I don't know.
Oh, goodness.
And the whole thing is, you know, there were rescue and rehabilitation and wildlife people who were on this and tracking him. But the thing is, you can't dart a baboon just anyway, because what happens is they get a fright from the dart and they run, usually forward and then up a tree. And by the time the dart takes effect, they'll fall out of the tree, most likely to their death. So they actually have to be in an enclosed area where there's kind of only one exit, which obviously puts the person who's doing the shooting in huge danger as well. So yeah, I checked last night before I went to bed to see if he was still going, and apparently he was, and I don't see any new news this morning. But yeah, there he is.
I was looking at guns on Tuesday last week. I'd be happy to help.
Oh,
no,
Gareth.
Darting, not guns.
Imagine being one of the first people who sees this baboon. I'm sure you blink twice and thrice and you think, did I see correctly?
Yeah. Correct.
And apparently he is enormous. If you see him, you know, it's difficult to tell his size looking at all the videos I've seen.
Have you ever seen a baboon yawn? And you see the size of those teeth. It's not to be messed with. It's really not to be messed with. Those are not playthings. They know they're dangerous. They're very dangerous animals.
It was quite funny. I was in my parents' garden, and I overheard the neighbors. There were two teenage girls who were very excited because they had spotted it, and they had taken a video. And the one was saying, "Oh, it's already got 7 views. I'm so excited."
So tell me quickly, because you've also got a list of like the most dangerous cities in the world, and it's not because of baboons, but this is worth spending a bit of time talking about. There are 6 South African cities that make up the top 20 in the most dangerous cities in the world list, and Leigh-Ann has all of that information. So should we be celebrating that we have 6 out of the top 20? I mean, this is not something to be proud of, right?
Jeez, I'm surprised it's that much.
6 of our cities.
So let's take into consideration the source of this, okay? It's on the SouthAfrican.com, which I find quite credible. But this is according to user-generated data, and it doesn't say much more than that. So, you know, was it mainly South Africans who were polled, or, I don't know. But these are
the South-African.com was started by people who are expats who live in London. It's a company that's registered in London. So
yeah.
I would say that their main audience is still probably expatriate South Africans who want to think that it's more dangerous than it is because it justifies their reason for leaving. That's all I'm
exactly. Exactly. So this is why I'm mentioning that, because how is this poll or research done? So in first place is Caracas in Venezuela. They've worked out something called a crime index and then something called a safety index. So if we look at the crime index, that comes up at 84.6. The second one is in Papua New Guinea. Third is Pretoria. Fourth, Durban. Fifth, Johannesburg. Sixth.
Hold on a second. You're telling me that Pretoria is more dangerous than Johannesburg?
This is also, I was very surprised. I thought,
how is that possible?
Exactly. I mean,
and both of those are more dangerous than Cape Town?
Cape Town's not even in the top 10.
But Cape Town has got gang violence like Pretoria and Joburg do not have, right?
Exactly.
And while Joburg is much bigger and probably has more crime generally, those are not all as violent as the crimes that are reported in Cape Town. In fact, there was a list that was brought out just at the beginning of this year, which put Cape Town way ahead of Johannesburg in terms of crime. So I don't know that this thing sounds very credible.
This is what's concerning me, is that this is going around and people are, taking it seriously. Look, we know, I mean, and then it's got Pietermaritzburg on the list there as well, in the top 10. So Cape Town doesn't even feature there.
What does Pietermaritzburg have?
So it says, sorry, you guys, I lost you there for a second.
No. This is nonsense. Carry on. I'm not believing this. Pietermaritzburg is more dangerous than Cape Town. Do me a favor. Really?
I mean, we know that if you look at countries in the world on, believable and properly researched articles will tell you that South Africa is quite a way up there. But I'm a bit concerned about this, considering that people are going to take this story that seriously.
Yeah.
I don't think we're more dangerous than Venezuela or than Afghanistan or than Baghdad. I mean, Baghdad's got to be more dangerous than Pretoria, for heaven's sake. Surely. It's not even on the list.
It reminds me of
American cities that are more dangerous than ours at the moment. I mean, in Chicago, they've got gang shootings every weekend. And just because they don't make a fuss of it in the media doesn't mean that it's not happening.
It reminds me of a documentary I watched, made by the UK, people in the UK, but it was around Cape Town hospitals. Now, we know the realities of violence and, crime in this country, but I watched that documentary. It was by Reggie Yates, and he does a lot of stuff for the BBC, and I find him very interesting. But watching that, I thought, come on, this is way too sensational. This is just too, they were hamming things up. This is trying to be almost voyeuristic to give people this thrill of, oh my gosh, really, Africa's insane. The first scene in this documentary was Reggie walking into a Cape Town hospital at around midnight, and he's following doctors on call, wanting to figure out, what are some of the reasons people are in ER that evening. And the doctor says, oh, well, I've just come out of dealing with someone who's had to have their leg amputated. And he goes, leg amputated? He goes, uh-huh. And they bring up this amputated leg. Like, see, this is the violence. This is what people have to deal with on an average basis. Come on, this is not what we should be preaching about this country. We do not want to see a leg that has been sawed off.
I'm not going to make excuses for the fact that we have huge and rampant and out of control crime. We all know about that already, and maybe I'm taking it for granted that people in this country are used to it. Maybe I'm also, there's some level of kind of underlying anxiety in all of us, and we've just accepted that's how people live. But I do think, as LB says, comparing us to Baghdad is not a good look. I agree, but there are certainly grades of danger, and I don't know that Pretoria or Pietermaritzburg are more dangerous than Cape Town. I can't somehow see that. I think it's BS, and Kyle agrees with me. Don't strip Cape Town of our capital, our crime capital crown. It's so sad, but it's true. And I don't know. Mary says, one of the reasons that we should be aware of the fact that immigration is going the way that it is. And it's crazy. The number of people who are leaving South Africa, and the ones who can afford to leave South Africa is growing. It's not going down. So people wouldn't leave if South Africa was safe and if we had a reasonable economy and healthcare was good. So those are things to consider. And Mary, I don't by any means disregard what you're saying as being nonsense. I think it's very, very valid. But when you're going to rank cities in the world, don't come up with a list that's clearly and patently bizarre.
Yeah, it's almost as if, like you say, the readers are expats, and it's almost as if the question might have been put out there: which city do you think is the most dangerous in the world? And wherever they lived, they've listed, because for Pretoria and Pietermaritzburg to come up in there, and not Cape Town, it's just too specific and odd.
It's very strange. I wanted to get into something that we'll probably talk about in the next hour, but I've suddenly realized, I haven't been clothes shopping, and I haven't been to a mall or anything to look for basic stuff that I would have been buying 2-3 times a year. New T-shirts, new kind of tops, and winter's coming. I haven't bought clothes since probably before lockdown.
It's so weird because I dreamt last night that I was shopping for clothes, and it was so much fun. But I did bump into Zareda Jardine in my dream in the shopping mall. And she was carrying a dress that was still on the hanger that she had just bought from one of the boutique stores that I knew I would never go into because I wouldn't be able to afford the dresses. I was chatting to her about the dress, and I looked at it and I saw the price tag, and it was 34,999 rand.
Oh my God. Can you imagine buying a dress?
I said to her, is this sponsored? Have they given this to you because, you are who you are? She said, no, I just loved it. So I bought it with my own money. And I had pick and pay clothing in my bag.
When last did you go and buy clothes? Because honestly, I haven't been to buy clothes for maybe a year, maybe even a year and a half. I can
long time.
The last time I went and bought, and I'm talking about basic stuff, which means there's nothing new in my cupboards for over a year. Not that should be so strange. I've got enough clothes to not be running out. But I suddenly thought the other day, really, you should maybe consider buying some winter stuff. It's going to be coming quicker than we think.
Yeah. It shows you how we do dress for other people.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Oh, no. I still need it. I still need it as a bit of a pick-me-up, as just, I'm sorry to say this as well, just to amuse myself every now and then. It's either online. I thought the fact that some stores still don't have their dressing rooms open would annoy me. But nope, hasn't. I will gladly walk in there, buy some stuff, and come back and return it if it's an issue. Gareth, you're muted.
Sorry, I was talking nonsense to myself there. So you buy clothes online?
Yeah.
You're not worried that when you get them, they're going to be wrong and they're going to fit badly, or I mean, I would never buy pants or a shirt online. I'd be too scared that they'd be the wrong size.
I was also distrusting, but now I've done it so many times. I'm used to it. I'm really used to it. Oh my gosh, I need it now. It's sad if I don't. It's such a stereotype.
There is no way in hell I would be able to buy stuff online unless there was a certain style of something called the Jessica or the Veronica, and I knew the style of the dress, and that I had one already, and then I could buy another.
You can really waste a lot of money if you go into these online stores and you buy them, especially if it's stuff that, and they advertise it and it's someone who looks really good in a pair of pants, for example. And then when you get them, they just really don't suit you at all, and you have to send them back, and it's a real pain.
I find our retailers and platforms are really consumer focused, and they're trying to make the whole experience as simple as possible. A lot of these places have free return situations, or they can come back and collect it again and swap it for something else. I really haven't faced any sort of an issue.
Well, I mean, this is Jared's point. He says he spent more on clothes online since last March than he would in the shops in a normal year. So there are a lot of people who are doing this. Steph says, I shop online these days. It's the best. No queues. Winnie says the prices are crazy. You see this because I'm a little out of the loop. Carla says online purchases usually have a free and simple return, so there's no risk. Yeah, but then you have to. I don't know. I mean, this is crazy. Annette says,
"What? You're just thinking of the admin?"
Yeah, I mean, where do you even send it? Do you drop them off at a collection point, like with Take-A-Lot, or what's the story? Do you have to take them to a place? Then it seems like
they collect them from you.
Really? Okay, maybe it's good. Annette says, I buy most of my clothes online. I'm seldom disappointed as long as you know your site. You're good. Oh, your size.
Your size.
Yeah.
I pretty much only shop online for clothes. Works perfectly 90% of the time, says Carl. This is okay, I'm learning things here. So in other words, I don't even have to go to the shops. I can buy stuff online. But then tell me which places are the best to buy from, because I wouldn't even know where to start. Like which sites do I go to? I'm really not on top of this at all. And I'm embarrassed to admit that this is not something that I've done properly before. All right, cool. We got to get to our 7:00 break. We will be back in a moment. cliffcentral.com. Give us your comments. Let us know what's on your mind. The number is 079-748-2090. If you want to get hold of us, let us know what's going on with you and what you want to talk about. And in the next hour, we will be back with, we've got a special guest joining us in a little while on something that I think will probably interest quite a lot of us. An inspiring story to get your week off to a good start. And because it's Monday and it's a short week, we have lots to look forward to, so stick around.
Do you grunt when getting out of the car? Creak when getting out of bed? Do you walk into a room and forget why? Are you having trouble in the sack? Is the hump in a slump? Join me, Chris Avon-Smith, and Dr. Mark on the T-Health Show every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m, where we talk to medical and allied professionals about those serious and not so serious medical lifestyle issues. The T-Health Show, sponsored by the T-Clinic. The T-Health Show is available on podcasts. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.
Just because it's about technology, connecting your business to the rest of the world doesn't mean you need to send rockets to space and use complicated solutions. Want to simplicate things? Well, join Jaco Voigt, who is the CEO of Catalytic, on the Unbundled podcast. With skin in the game and a keen focus on educating and assisting you and your business, Jaco decodes all the aspects of connectivity, security, and cloud solutions. Unbundled is brought to you by Catalytic and is available on cliffcentral.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
The world's apex predators have fearsome reputations. so it's hard to believe that some of them are facing a fight for survival.
In Gansbaai and Valsbaai, white sharks are almost completely disappeared.
Blind conservation is the story of these endangered predators. In our first episodes, we speak to global experts about the alarming plight of the great white shark.
Each shark that lives out there, one day out of 4 days, it can be killed.
And what you can do to help one of nature's most magnificent creatures survive for future generations. Join me, Spike Ballantyne, and my co-host, Anthony Mederer, for Blind Conservation, available on cliffcentral.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
We live in a rapidly changing world, but how we get paid remains stubbornly outdated.
We have this archaic payday cycle.
The Future of Pay is a podcast series that explores the impact that the current salary status quo has on South Africans.
When you are desperate, you will do anything to get that money to put food on your table for your family by tomorrow evening.
And how innovative startup SmartWage is looking to change things.
There's a very simple problem here. People are waiting till the end of the month to get paid, and the impact is that they can't afford expenses that come up during the middle of the month.
The Future of Pay, brought to you by SmartWage, available on cliffcentral.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. cliffcentral.com on a Monday morning. Leigh-Ann, Mole, Siasangweni, and I are here to look after you today, start your week off properly. And it is a short week because Friday is a public holiday. Friday's Good Friday. It's Easter coming. I saw the Easter eggs in the shops from January, pretty much. So if you're a big chocolate fan, this is also a good time of year for you. And if you are religious and Easter is your most important Christian holiday, then you need to know that the churches want you there, but they don't want you there, if you know what I mean. That's kind of the mixed message that we're getting from the South African Council of Churches. But I suppose you've got to speak to your own priest, your own church, your own religious leadership, and find out whether or not you're welcome at the church for Easter. We don't want to turn it into some excuse for the government to clamp down on us again for whatever reason. Although I've got to say that there were reports in the newspaper that I did buy on Sunday, the Sunday Times. I haven't done that for ages, about how everybody in authority and in the medical fraternity is saying there's very, very little chance of a third wave. So if you're worried about that and you're paranoid and you're nervous, then that's something to consider. That everyone, including the outgoing czar of COVID in South Africa, Professor Karim, is saying that there's no need for a panic. In fact, our numbers are coming down quite nicely. Infection rates right down. And we should be on our way out of this very, very soon. They're trying to roll out vaccines a lot faster, but
yeah. So they have
a government that's very good at delivery. So let's not hold our breath.
So some of the medical aides have started sending out information regarding when you are most likely to get the vaccine. And obviously they're going to start, they have started with medical staff. The next is people over the age of 60.
Right.
Then it is people with comorbidities. And my question was, how will they know? And I think they look at
how will they know? Sorry.
Exactly. Apparently they look at your chronic medication. So I'll probably be getting it with the 60-year-olds.
Yeah, you will, because you've got a lot of chronic medication, don't you?
Yeah. So it's all about comorbidities and that sort of thing. Young, fit and healthy people will be the last to get it. And I'm reckoning, looking at the timelines, that might only be towards the end of the year or even in the beginning of next year.
Well, while we're on COVID, and I really tried to not talk about this every day because I know that people are sick of it. It's now a year on, and you know, it's kind of it's become the most boring thing that someone can talk to you about at a dinner party, or if you bump into them at the shops or whatever. No one wants to talk about COVID. But Leigh-Ann, you've got something to say about those masks, those RoboCop face shield type things. You don't like those. You think that's over the top?
Oh no! That's me.
Okay, I thought it was Leigh-Ann.
Do you know the type of masks I'm talking about?
Those ones that you strap on your forehead and it comes across your whole face. It's like a visor.
Shield, yeah.
And there's There are those that are transparent and that just wrap around the face. I sort of get those. Or there are those that are attached to what look like frames for normal glasses, right? Those are very standard.
Yeah.
There's a new type of style that I think people think are very cool, that look very much like that RoboCop character. They're a little bulbous, and some have a bit of a color to them. Like some have a shade of pink or a shade of red or a shade of blue. You look ridiculous, people.
Maybe
my gosh.
Try and find a picture for us.
Yeah, this is very, very strange.
And then
so I've seen the face visors. I love those people who've got a mask and then they've got the face visor in front of that. And someone has told them that viruses are extremely big and can be stopped by those two things. It's just crazy.
Because you also just look so silly, in my opinion, with those face shields in general, because you end up like fogging up the screen. You're speaking so much, and then you have this mist and condensation. Yes, those ones, Leah. Oh,
that's terrible. Oh my God!
Isn't it
So it looks like a big bubble over your face, and it's colored. Well, so it's tinted. So it looks like a pair of sunglasses that have suddenly been on steroids and grown all the way down to your chin.
This is going to become a trend. Oh God.
Already is, unfortunately.
If you want to try and Google them, I'll just share now. It's on. You can get them on bidorbuy.co.za for 225 Rand, 100 available.
What do they call them?
Protective, full face, shield guard, full cover visor glasses, ombre oversized sunglasses, mask, PPE. Those are they name it after what you might search for.
Listen, I walked into, where was it yesterday? I was at the shop, so one of those garage shops, and I walked in and then I suddenly realized I didn't have my mask, and then I realized, like, hang on, there were 2 or 3 other people in the shop who weren't wearing their masks, so I just went in. I had to buy like milk and the newspaper, so it was quick, so I didn't even bother, and nobody complained. I don't think this mask thing is going to last very much longer. I think it's ridiculous. It's paranoia. If you don't feel, especially if you feel that you're not sick, if you feel that you might have had this already, if you've been vaccinated, you certainly shouldn't be wearing a mask. If you've been vaccinated, it's stupid to wear one. And it's not your responsibility to look after everyone else's anxiety. It really isn't. I think that this has got to end at some point. It's getting ridiculous. I think any mask makes you look ridiculous, even the normal ones that everyone's wearing, that I wear.
Look, I'd rather mask up and wear 3 fabric masks than to do one of those silly face shields. Goodness gracious.
I've been grateful for the mask for a number of reasons, and some of the lighter ones are that I can mouth my shopping list to myself without anyone seeing. So I can go bread, milk, apples, cider. Bread, milk, apples, cider.
Right.
And the other thing is I can also sing along to the tune with no voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and nobody knows.
No one knows. And the other thing is, as I found out yesterday, when I went to the bottle store, I got stuck in the queue behind a homeless man who was so old he was the shape of a question mark. His blue jeans were brown from dirt and shit. And he had gathered enough coins to buy 1 beer. I mean, I felt really sorry for him, but he stank. Woo! And I was 6 feet away from him, but wow, I was heaving away, and I was so grateful I had the mask on so no one could see. Or you've already.
Oh no! Don't you dare do it now! Don't.
If you really want to feel, if you want to understand how stupid this whole mask thing is, then just look up YouTube videos, go online and Google microscope on used face mask, and see what kind of shit's crawling around in there, and you will very quickly realize, it's not doing you very much good, honestly. Anyway, so we'll leave that alone because I've just had enough of it. And I know everybody's got opinions, but I did see someone on TV last week and he was wearing a mask and he had glasses on and his glasses were steamed up. You couldn't.
Oh
my gosh, it's been the bane of our lives for glass wearing people.
Terrible.
Really. It's like even dangerous when you're driving or, handling something that, it's such a mess.
So this is good news. Carl says that the ship the ship freed. Sorry. The ship that's blocked the Suez Canal has been freed. They finally managed to dislodge it.
It's breaking news. It just happened.
Oh, God. Thank goodness for that.
Well, it's still going to affect us in some way because what's happened is because of the backlog of ships, they've sent a lot of them to South Africa.
Yeah, sent lots of them around the Cape.
Yeah. So they're not going to, this problem's not going to go away for a while. I mean, we know how slow ships are. So we'll still be feeling the effects, and our ports will be feeling the effects of it for a while.
Have you ever been at a traffic accident and you decide, I'm going to go the other way, and then like moments after you've decided to go the other way, it opens up and you're like, what I could have just, imagine you were one of those ships who was right behind this guy and you were like waiting for, how many has it been, 7 days or whatever it is now.
You waited for one, after one day you thought, let me turn around. And then you said, no, they should sort this out soon. And you did that every day for 7 days. And on day 7, you made your U-turn and it flipping cleared up.
It's exactly when it clears up. That's what happens. Oh my God. Unbelievable. Andre says, I'm always amazed why many criminals don't bother wearing masks. That's a whole other thing. But it's amazing how many people are attached to these things now. They've got, like you see in everybody's house, and I don't know how many people you've been visiting during lockdown, but everybody at the entrance or the exit, somewhere near their front door, they've got either a little bowl with a whole lot of masks in it, or there are them in the car, or whatever. People have now it's almost become like a feature of our lives.
Yeah,
in terms of where we live and where we go.
I have a decorative wooden box which I wasn't using for anything before, and in there go a whole lot of masks, whether they're the one day only types or fabric ones. But it was such a big mistake because I grabbed a mask out of one of them, went to the shop, and realized that because I've never used or opened the box, it smelt of paint.
Ooh.
So I had this hectic paint smell in my mask the whole time. I had to throw it away and buy new ones.
Yeah.
I need to take a photo of my mother's collection when I'm next at home. My goodness, she has a mask for every occasion, and I think she's just gone a step too far. Most people either wear those very simple, ordinary surgical ones, but she has such a wide array of these fabric masks: a shweshwe one, a blue shweshwe one, a green shweshwe one, a beige one, a black one, a powder blue one. And I'm thinking, why? There's a color, like if you just get a white mask, it will go with anything. But she's become that person now with this whole, she has a camo one, and it's too much, too much.
Well, here's an email from Build to Grow. She says, living in London for 3 years now, it's so refreshing to hear things, and she's obviously talking about our show, hear things said so honestly with no apology. The English is so PC and soft on freedom of speech. It is crippling. I'm marrying an English woman, but I still struggle that the majority of English people feel I'm too polarized and frank with my opinions. Maybe I am, but when I speak to South Africans, I fit in properly. The soft, coddled PC English are infuriating. Keep going. I love the show. So there's some people in England who are enjoying what we do. So that's very, very cool. Thank you very much.
Another thing for us to be grateful about today, about being South Africans.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, they've got all kinds of opinions flying around at the moment about the lockdowns, which are coming in to play again. I don't think any country's got it right, frankly. It seems to me that all of them have made mistakes along the way. And this is what happens when you trust governments. If you just let people decide for themselves, then they can decide the level of risk they want to take on. And if they don't think about it, or they're too stupid to know how to take on a certain level of risk, then, let the disease teach them a lesson, frankly. I don't know why we have to mollycoddle and baby everybody. Parents should be able to decide for their kids what's right. Churches should be able to decide for their congregations what's right. Do it at a smaller local level, and let the governments carry on with making sure that the hospitals are running properly and everything else. Make national mask mandates. Bullshit like that. So over it. Can't believe we're still talking about this a year later.
Well, I don't want to call it complete BS, but I know fewer and fewer, if not no people at all anymore, who are living in a state of absolute panic or unrest or bubbles. Bubbles were a thing. Oh no, this is just our bubble. Because if I'm frank about people around me, myself included, my bubble is quite the bubble that I used to know and love and experience. Oh yeah, sure. No. I'm just keeping very safe. My bubble is just, my 3 sisters, my parents, my 7 friends, my neighbor, my colleagues, and then also my bubble is just my dog and my neighbor's dog and the person across the street. Yes, that's my bubble. No, that's not your bubble. Those are just the people you used to hang out with now. Let's be frank.
We've spoken about this so many times during this last year, but really, I think it's time to get back to normal now. I think enough of this nonsense, really. So we've all got to start growing up, stop being such a bunch of pussies. It's enough. I'm over it. I want to get out there and do normal things, and I am. I'm frankly, I don't care anymore, and I think I'm not the only one. I think there are lots of other people who feel the same way. Annette says, "I agree. I'm sick of this mask bullshit." See, it's not just me.
No, well, I think we're going to be as free as we technically can be, because the government is still trying to protect themselves. They can't exactly say, actually, as of Wednesday, everyone run around and cough down each other's throats.
Yeah, that's true. Well, the government in this country are only interested in the ANC, not the government. So don't worry about them, because they don't worry about you. And don't worry about their rules either, because they can't enforce any of them. They can't even get the police to arrest a former president who is in direct contempt of court. So don't worry about you. I'm sure that you can get out on some kind of a warning if you are caught without a mask, or you go out after curfew, or God forbid anything like that breaks a terrible rule. Go for it. Break the rules. If we all do it together, then they can't police us all. They can't even police 1 or 2 bad politicians. Okay, well, it is a year later, and we've had enough of this morning. I've tried really hard over the last few weeks to avoid these COVID discussions, but let's move on. I'm excited that ship has been freed. That's very good news. There's a lot of other stuff happening though in the world, and it's worth reflecting on some of those. I saw that Prince, what's his name, of Monaco? What's the dude's name?
Albert, Charlene's husband.
Prince Albert is Charlene's husband. He came out and supported,
sorry, I just made them sound like our neighbors. Who you talking about? Oh, Albert. Oh, that's Charlene's man. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right, exactly. I didn't even remember his name. Well done to you.
Prince.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the penis ring name. We should know it.
Prince Albert, right? So he came out and supported the Queen against Harry and Meghan. He said that he didn't think that interview was very good, and he thought that it was probably better resolved privately. So he's come out in support of the people who've said that they're not in favor of Harry and Meghan doing that interview, which I thought was interesting, just because he's one of the few other royals in the world who's had something to say about it. And I suppose good for him. Piers Morgan has also been hitting back. He was in the news over the weekend. The Daily Mail, I think, published his whole story, which I can't believe
that yesterday.
I got sucked into it. So I ended up reading the whole thing before I went to sleep last night, which I wish I cared enough, but clearly I do. Otherwise, I wouldn't have read it. It was interesting because he just wrote the story from his point of view. So he told like a step-by-step thing of what happened and, who he's still friends with and who he isn't. And he stood up for poor old Sharon Osbourne, who stood up for him. And, he said these people were nice to him. And he listed a couple of WhatsApps and comments that he got from friends. It's just interesting to see. And he did make a point. And I think this is true for any of us, no matter what you do, whether you're in media or you're just a private person. It's interesting to see when you're in trouble who comes to your rescue and who comes to your aid and to support you, and which people very quietly sidle off into the distance and make themselves less known. And he was just pointing out that the people that he really knew were his friends through this, and the people who he knew were just weak and kind of around him for the wrong reasons. People who smile at you but don't really care. He said those people he knew.
I'm sorry, I had to laugh yesterday when I saw that Piers Morgan tweet and a screenshot of the article. I haven't read it, but it was something along the lines of, Piers said, everyone has had their say, and this is now time for me to have my say. No, sir, you've had your say. That's what got you into the mess in the beginning. What would he possibly say that we have not heard yet?
If you're going to look at this just based on the numbers, that show of his, that Good Morning Britain, got its highest ratings on his last day. He has gone to number 1 on Amazon's bestseller list in the UK with his book, and he's gained something like 100 or 200,000 new followers on social media. Could even be more than that, but that was the number I remember, since he left Good Morning Britain. So for him, it's been a great time. And I think ITV lost something like 5% on their share price when he resigned. So now he says his value is something like £250 million if you take 5% of ITV. So he reckons that's
word.
So it's all about Piers, as you do. But I think that's quite exciting. So for him, lots of success in a moment where he should have. Certainly people tried to make him feel like a failure, but if you look at those numbers, those are the only things that matter.
And now it's official that sexy weatherman Alex is taking his place as the co-host of that show. So I wonder what the ratings will be like afterwards. But let's see. I sort of got into the story over the weekend based on what Sharon Osbourne has had to recently say. And it sounds a little woo-woo, in my opinion. She says that her being wrapped up in the saga and her talk show being suspended is all part of a plot that has been going on for years to kick her out. Her show's called I think it's called The Talk. It's pretty much a panel show with like 4 other women, and it airs on CBS, which is the same network where Gayle King does the morning show, the morning news show. And so she says Gayle King specifically was friends with Harry and Meghan for years now to get Harry and Meghan on her side so that they can plot to get Sharon Osbourne off the air. Sharon?
Jeez, really? That's a bit of a far reach.
I'm just thinking about those stories I told you about how Sharon takes revenge on people if they cross. Remember those stories that I shared with you the one week about how she does.
Everyone needs to be careful if those are true, because now she's lost her job. She has tons and tons of money, and she's sitting at home with time and idle hands.
I meant to tell you this, so I'm really chuffed. I did all my exercise every day last week, and I've been watching more or less what I was eating. Managed to lose 3 kilograms last week. I weighed myself yesterday, and I was like, "Yes, look at this."
I beat you.
Oh, really, Leigh-Ann? Tell me more.
I lost 5.
Jeez, well done to you.
It was over like a week and a half.
But that's impressive. That's 5 kilos in a week is a lot.
It was by accident, really. I didn't feel like going shopping over the last few days and buying ready-made meals. So it was out of a bit of laziness, and I didn't have a lot in the house to eat.
But what did you eat? I mean, what did you have?
weird things like 2-minute noodles and fish fingers and peanut butter on toast. Just no sort of creamy pastas and that sort of thing.
In other words,
you were eating like a university student.
Yes, exactly.
That's good. In other words, we call it the poverty diet.
Yeah, exactly. But it wasn't like if I ordered takeout, I would order from Kauai and get like a big bowl of vegetables, that sort of thing.
See, I like eating healthy stuff. It's just a pain to make. So I only go to the shops. I've realized, last year I was going kind of once a week regardless because I thought, I've got to stock up. And, you're terrified of kind of them making a rule or you can't go to the shops or whatever. But really since halfway through last year, I only go to the shops when my milk expires. So if I buy milk and the expiry date is the 30th of March, like tomorrow, then that's the day I'll go to the shops and I'll buy new stuff. But otherwise, I really have not been. I mentioned earlier I haven't been clothing shopping. Now I don't even go food shopping unless the milk expiry date's there. Then that's the day. Otherwise, I'll just find stuff. I'll dig out like old packets of something that I haven't made, or there'll be a tin of something somewhere in the pantry, and that's what I'll get by with.
That's what I was doing too. Was like tins of lentils or chickpeas that I hadn't had in a while, and it was actually really good. Yeah.
And you also then look around and you go, "Oh my God, this I can't eat. This is expired like 3 years ago. I better throw that out."
I'm so fussy with expiry dates. There's very little that you'll find expired in my house.
Yeah, that's very impressive. Like you have 5 kilos gone in a week. Very, very nice. See, of course, if you lost 5 kilos, you'd fall apart because you are.
You'd be gone in a week.
Basically. No, and it's a legitimate concern, and that's why I maintain my weight with some marshmallows that I had this morning. Yes, so you have to take it very seriously.
What a way to start the day.
I can imagine nothing worse than having a marshmallow at the beginning of my day. Oh, yeah.
I have a bowl of marshmallows, and this morning I was like walking around and just doing some things before the show. I caught myself literally just walking around with the jar going, yeah, this is not normal.
One of the more bizarre things I have done though recently, so I buy the peanut butter that has no sugar or salt in it. So it's literally it's quite savory actually. And I felt like something sweet. So I don't have normal sugar in my house either, but I had some icing sugar. So I mixed some icing sugar into the peanut butter jar.
Oh my God, no.
That's bad.
I hate to sound really ignorant about this, but what's the difference between icing sugar and sugar except that it's much finer?
That's it. It's just finer.
So it's just powder instead of being the granules.
Exactly. You can actually make your own icing sugar from normal sugar just by popping it in a blender.
Or using a mortar and pestle.
Yes, that would take a little longer, but yes.
Hey, I'm old school that way. All right, let's talk about something that will inspire you, I think, today to get your week started on the right note. Now, in the midst of a huge amount of negativity, there's a young guy who is trying to make a difference in his community by committing to walking for 27 days from Johannesburg to Cape Town. That is a long-ass way. He's going to raise funds for education and upliftment projects, and his name is Onke Vulidobo Sitwayi, and he is with us this morning. We're going to talk to him, find out more about him and why he's doing this. So first of all, Onke, nice to meet you. How are you doing this morning?
Hi, guys. Good morning. Nice to meet you too. I'm happy to be here with you.
So why do you have to suffer for people to give us money? I mean, let's get some money for you anyway. You don't have to do this walk. If we can get enough money for you, you can cancel the walk. Huh? How about
that? I don't think I would, man. I don't think I would, even if people would give me the money, because for me now it's more of a mental challenge for me. So I rather go out there and walk than stay indoors and stress about everything that's going on. So it's more of it's therapeutic for me.
So you've already done this walk, right? I mean, you did it in January, so we can't even help you if we wanted to help cancel it so that you didn't have to. you've already done it, right? You did it in January.
Yes, we do. I did it. I did it with a friend of mine in Jan. We went to Eastern Cape. Yeah, it was very, very challenging. And the thing is about this one, the distance that I'll be traveling would be double the distance that I took to get to Eastern Cape. So
who did you choose as a friend to go with you on that long walk? Because I don't know if any of my friends wouldn't start to irritate me after a few kilometers. I mean, how do you choose the friend?
I just started telling people. At first, to be honest with you, he thought I was crazy. He said, "Nah," because in most cases, whenever you think of an idea, I don't know if it's a mental thing. We always go to the negative things that could happen, because he started saying, "Oh, what if you get robbed? Where are we going to sleep?" All those things. And I told him, I said, "My king, I don't know. One thing I know is that I have to do this thing for my community, because if I don't do it, who will? Because my community is far away from the city. It's very far away." So at the end of the day, I think what I was trying to do resonated with his spirits, and then he decided, you know what, man, let's do this thing. Let's do this thing. So
let's just talk about your community for a second. Where are you actually from? And I know you're trying to raise money for them to get educational equipment, but tell us about the place you're from.
I'm from Eastern Cape, in a village called Elliotdale, or in Xhosa it's called Xhosa. It's 100 kilometers south of Amtata. It's along the coast. It's very far away from Amtata. So even for you to get there, you use gravel road. So we don't normally see. We don't see if there's a lot of foundations that exist today. There are a lot of good people who are doing this today, but these people, they don't reach on my village. So it's very far away. It's a secluded village. So for me, I thought, if no one is gonna come to us, at least let me go to the people and start sharing them and start showing them the things that are lacking in my village. Because I believe it's my responsibility. For me to be here, someone had to sacrifice his or her life for me to be here. For me to get the education that I got, someone had to sacrifice. So I'm just following in the footsteps of the people that came before me.
Well, it's really, really interesting that you're doing this, and I think it's great that you've got a cause that you care about and that you can help other people. But it is sad that there are places in South Africa that really are so off the beaten track, and there's just no assistance for people who live in those places, and really there isn't much of a future unless they can get a really good education and get out. So what's your story? You were born there, and what have you been up to in your life? Like, tell us your story since you were a small kid in this Elliotdale place.
I was born and raised there. I spent 46 days in the mountains there. That's when I became the man.
Right.
I went to school there. The thing is, when I was young, I was fortunate enough that my parents were working. My mother was a nurse and my mother was a police. So I used to see my friends going to school without shoes. And there's what I will do. I will try, whenever I leave home, I'll try and take off my shoes so that I can just walk up with it. Because sometimes I'll be the only one with shoes. Even with classes, you find out, but the school is here. We go there in the morning, we do the morning prayer, but there are not enough classes. So we'll have to walk 10 to 15 kilometers to go and for a classroom. Maybe there's a community member who has borrowed the school a space for the school. So that thing used to happen when I was growing up. I used to experience all that. But now, I think 5 years back when I went back home, I saw the same thing happening. I even took a picture of the kids studying under a tree. And it's not safe for them to stand on it. And where I come from, it's very windy because we're close to the beach. So anything could happen. You see young kids, maybe 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds going to primary school. Those kids should be in a preschool. So I think those are the things. When I saw those things, I said, man, when I was growing up, I used to experience all these things, man, and nothing has changed ever since. So that's why it was important for me to take a stand and say, for me, I have to, because every time I go back home, I see these things.
Okay, I mean, I'm just trying to imagine what it's like in those communities. But if it's a rainy day, for example, and you don't have shoes and you have to walk, 15, 20, even 30 kilometers to school, that's impossible. Most people just won't go to school on those days, right? If it rains and you can't study under a tree if it's raining.
You can't. And when it rains, sometimes the bridge, the rivers, they get full, and some children they can't go to school maybe for a week because they can't cross the river. So they have to wait for a week. And even with textbook, you find out, but there's one textbook for 5 kids. And those kids are staying 15, 20, 30 kilometers apart. So they have to share that textbook.
Unbelievable.
So there's a lot that's going on in my community. So the walk, I'm trying to use the walk as a voice to bring attention to my community.
I think this is so great. You know, the thing that really impresses me about you is like you're taking responsibility. You're not waiting for someone to come and save you, and you're trying to help. I suppose, you know, in a community where there really aren't that many people who have too many advantages, you see yourself as quite privileged, and you're going to go out and do what you can. I think it's incredible. So you managed to raise 9,500 Rand through donations on that first link, but we can help. How can we contribute to your walk and to you doing this to raise awareness and to bring some money in? How can we help? Where can we go? Is there a website?
No, there's a link. Actually, Babysitting, there's an app called Babysitting. So they helped us with a link that people can use to donate. It's actually easy. It's like doing an online shopping. So you can get the link. You can get the link on our social media. So if you follow us at Dream Out Loud SA on Instagram, you'll find the link on our bio. Even on Facebook, Dream Out Loud SA, you'll find the link on our bio. It's there. Or to make things easy for you, you can even contact us. Send us a WhatsApp on 067 09 55 366. If you send us an email, we can also send you the link to make things easier for you.
Well,
or we can even...
What we'll do, we'll also post the link attached to this on the podcast. So on cliffcentral.com, we'll post all of those links so that you shouldn't have any problem finding the stuff that Onke is talking about right now. So how long is this walk of yours, dude? You're going to do, what, Johannesburg to the Eastern Cape to Dutiwa, huh?
No, that was the last one. This one, I'm going to Cape Town now.
Oh my God.
I want to visit Robben Island.
Now, all right. What do you do? Where do you sleep on the way? Where do you actually stop?
We've been fortunate enough to be sponsored by Isuzu and Celsi on our previous walk, and on this walk too, Isuzu is sponsoring us again with a car. And the nice thing about it is giving us the same car they gave us the last time. So what we normally do on the road, I have a crew on the car that which carries refreshments, which documenting the whole thing. So what they normally do, they would drive 10 kilometers ahead and wait for me. And then now every time when I catch up to them, I'll get some refreshments, and then they drive again another 10 kilometers. So I think for the remaining kilometers, that's when they go ahead to the next town to go and look for accommodation for us. And the nice thing that has happened, on the last trip is that we only paid for one accommodation. It was only for camping. Only for camping. Yeah. The next accommodation, Free State was good to us. They were giving us free accommodation. We experienced the spirit of Ubuntu from all races, white, black, whoever we came across. The minute we explained to them, this is what we're trying to do. We even had meals with families.
That's amazing.
And the thing is, we're the only ones who are wearing masks because these people are staying in farms. It's like they didn't even know about COVID. Or we're having meals with them, and on the table we're the only ones wearing masks. It got to a point where it got uncomfortable. Then we decided to take them off because these people were living their lives.
I'm interested though. How many kilometers can you cover in a day? I mean, you say that the bucky goes like 10 kilometers in front of you, but how many Ks are you doing in a day?
This time around, I have to do 50.
So I have
to do 50 kilometers.
Jesus.
Every single day.
I have to. That's why I even stopped eating meat. I stopped drinking milk. I stopped eating consuming sugary products. So I've been detoxing. So I've been taking care of my body. So I trust that my body will take care of me on the road. And your guys positive messages, also sending positive messages, positive voice notes. They will go a long way. They will go a long way.
I do love this. I love it because this is really not about you. You're putting yourself out there, and I'm sure walking through the country is one hell of a way to advertise that these kids have to walk every day. Some of them have to walk like 30 kilometers a day, as you mentioned earlier. let's look at this as an example for the rest of us to follow. I love it. Thank you, Onke.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for having me. This is big for us. This is big for us. So thank you for having us.
No, great to have you on, and good luck with your venture. We'll make sure that we post the links on cliffcentral.com, and we'll see if we can get some support for you.
Okay, thanks. Everyone can follow us on Dream Out Loud SA on Instagram. So that's where we will be going live every morning. So I'm even trying to challenge people, those who want to be involved virtually. I'm trying to do, maybe I can challenge them to do jumping jacks or skipping rope for the first 27 minutes in the morning while I'm running, because there will be a lot of running on this trip, especially in the morning.
So it's Dream Out Loud SA. Dream Out Loud.
Dream Out Loud SA.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
Dream Out Loud SA. Here it is. I can see it now. It's got that same logo that Onke's got in his shirt. It's an outline of that, and you can see he's walking. There's lots of great footage here of you doing your walk, and it's happening from the 1st and 27th of April, which is of course Freedom Day, and you're going to Robben Island. So will you be on Robben Island for Freedom Day?
I hope so. That's the plan. I would love to.
Very special. All right, man. Have a good day. Thanks so much, and good luck with your walk.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for having me.
Great to see you. Thank you, Onke. Isn't that cool? I love that there are people who they're not waiting for someone to do something for them. They get out there and they do it themselves, and they're not even doing it for themselves. They're doing it for other people. It's just great. Good for him. The more stories like that I hear, the better I feel. Honestly, it's just terrific.
Yeah. But as Onke is talking about walking 50 kilometers every day, I'm just thinking about the fact that, now that I order so many things for delivery here at home, it's easier. Our complex is quite large, and once the delivery guys are outside, some of them get lost. So sometimes it's just easier for me to walk to the gate and flag them down. There's a bit of a hill leading up to our main gate, and even that's too much for me. So I walk to the bottom of the hill, and then I'm like, hey, waving from the bottom, like, hey, you can drive down.
See, how far is it from your front door to the gate? Like 500 meters, maybe at a stretch.
Yeah, wait,
not even.
Yeah, let's say like 300 meters.
Yeah, whenever I have to guess distance, I always remember the 100-meter sprint at school, and then I use that.
I do the same, or 400 meters once around the field.
Right the way around the field, right? 400 meters. So that's how I think of distance. And 50 Ks a day that's a long way. That's basically from the center of Pretoria to the center of Johannesburg, more or less. Well, let's say Sandton. So from Sandton to the center of Pretoria, or from Midrand to the middle of Johannesburg. That's how far it is every single day. That's a long way to go.
I ran a 10K race once into the city at night, and the build up to this thing was incredible. The training that I had to do.
You ran 10 kilometers?
Yeah. That was when I was kind of at my peak and doing stuff and getting out and running every day. But yes, I did. And I did it in a good time for somebody who wasn't an athlete.
I ran 3 kilometers against it was a thing Adidas wanted me to do. It was me, because I said like girls can't run as fast as guys or whatever. And they challenged me. They said, we're going to put you in a race with like 50 girls, and if you don't at least come halfway, then you're a complete loser, and you'll have to admit that you're a loser. And I said, cool, I'll do it. And it was only 3 kilometers. 3 Ks is not a long way to go. I mean, most runners and cyclists will laugh at me and say that's pathetic. But the fact is, I did it, and I was so out of breath and so broken by the end of it. I think I came like 12th or whatever, which is no impressive feat. Because 3 kilometers isn't far, and I was running against amateurs, not professionals. I wasn't embarrassed by the result, but man, when I got to the end of 3 kilometers, I was finished. It took me half an hour to recover. So if you ran 10, that's very impressive.
Yeah, that's a big thing for me.
We do have people who run like 40 Ks a day. You get these people, and Bulelo runs like 20 Ks in a morning or whatever. So there's some lunatic people out there. And this dude is just a great example because he's willing to do this, even though he's not doing it like, to get attention. He's doing it for the little village he comes from. I think it's marvelous. Very, very nicely done.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
That's some serious motivation, man.
The furthest you've run, Sia, is through the airport, right? When you're making your plane.
I've done 10Ks once, and that was with a friend of mine, and who's slightly chubby and self-admittedly, and she was loving the fact that I was dying at the end of this or towards the end of this, and she goes, see, and people would think you'd be better at this than me, but by she's 6Ks, 7Ks, I'm already talking to Jesus like, Jesus, take me now. Actually, I've had a great life. I can't see the end. My water bottle was done. And I thought, oh, here it is now. This is how my life will come to an end. That's a lot for me. It's too much.
Yeah. Well, here's a point from LB. He says, I hope he has a physio to travel with him because he's going to be in a lot of pain. 50Ks is more than it's a marathon a day, basically. Someone said,
and obviously, like he said, he's going to do some running in the morning, so that'll help. But walking 50Ks, so let's say he runs for 20 or 25. The other walking will take much longer, obviously, than if he's running.
Yeah.
And 27 days, that's basically a month straight of doing this.
Walking. It's mad. It's madness. He's going to be like lying in bed every night shaking. I mean, listen, if I do 50 squats in the morning as part of my exercise routine, I can't walk down a flight of stairs. So I don't know how he's going to manage. I'm not a great example when it comes to like fit people. All right.
Or also just keeping your pleasing personality. Gosh, I don't want anyone near me for that long.
No. So
let's say I lived until I was 80. It still wouldn't be enough years for me to walk once to Cape Town.
No, I know. It's ridiculous. I said some things on Wednesday, I think it was, about women's sport, which Ben and Bulelo both messaged me about separately to say I'm absolutely full of shit. So the two of them want to come on at some point. So we've got to get them on to reprimand me and to tell me how stupid I am, which, I'm always happy to hear. So bring them on. We'll get those two on at some point, either together or separately. But Ben was like, oh, you really have to wake up. You're being an idiot. And he explained, he tried to start explaining to me, but I said to him, look, rather just tell me on the show, and everybody else can enjoy the fact that you're lecturing me. So he'll be joining us probably in the next week or two to put me in my place when it comes to that stuff. And remember, if you want to put me in my place, you're more than welcome to do so as well. Argue with us on the messaging. You can send us a WhatsApp on 079-748-2090 and tell us what you think. If there's some subject that has come up on the show that you are either angry about, inspired by, makes you laugh, makes you think, let me know about it so that we can make the show better and better every time. Carl says he only runs if the bottle store is closing.
Oh.
Oh, man.
And then you have to start reasoning with the security guard who is very, very serious about their job because it is now 5:45 and they are closing at 6. So there is no way that they will let you in.
Yeah, no, 100%. We've got to record a TV show today, Sia.
Gosh, I haven't been to studio. Just 1 week of not being in the TV studio and feels like such a long time.
No, it's kind of ridiculous. All right, well, we will also be back tomorrow morning and every day of this week except for Friday, because Friday is a public holiday. And remember that this is an extra long weekend because we've got Friday off, and then Monday next week is also a holiday. So for anybody who's planning to get away, that's probably a good time to do it. I've noticed like a lot of people on social media are taking little breaks here, there, and everywhere. And hey, if you can afford it, that's awesome. You can afford to get away. Sia, what is it like to travel by plane at the moment? Give everybody a little bit of an in on what you have to do. Is it more or less the same as it's always been? You have to wear a mask, obviously, but otherwise it's the same.
Yeah, gone completely back to what we knew was normal, in my opinion. Even going to the airport, you don't even have to sign any forms anymore. It's more verbal declaration when you check in, if you do check in physically. But now they just have these scanners or cameras as you enter an airport that I assume just check out your body temperature. And that's just it, really. It was actually that prompted a friend of mine who works in the theater world to get into a bit of a monologue with me. I'm like, I get it, but sorry, don't shoot the messenger, who says, do you understand the fact that now planes are full and people are seated side by side? Just doesn't make sense then why people can't go back into theaters and sit side by side and enjoy productions and plays anymore. Yeah, good point, but sorry, I was just traveling to go home. I don't have a lot of power in this. But
I mean,
I hear what they say.
On the planes, they're not 100% back to normal. So you obviously have to wear the mask on the plane, but they don't serve meals on the plane or anything like that yet, do they?
Yeah, no meals are served. They say if you really, really need it, they can give you some water. But, going to Durban is an hour, so it's really not much of a mission. But there's no social distancing there. So I get what they meant by, so how can you really justify it? That, sorry, no, theater isn't open because it's the same sort of capacity and space.
Well, you know how much I love the theatre, so I'm obviously thrilled that they closed at the moment. Long may that last. I know that's going to go down really well with a whole bunch of people. Carol says traveling is eerie. Everything is a ghost town. Nothing is open. No coffee shops, etc. So, is the airport itself quite empty? Is it quite still? Are there places open and normal?
Not to my experience, and considering the fact that I purposefully flew on a Saturday evening thinking, usually people travel on a Friday afternoon or a Sunday evening, just to get more bang for their weekend buck. But there were still tons of people traveling on a Saturday evening, and people were busy and people were moving. Even driving around Durban, things are open and things are happening. So I haven't sensed it at all.
Okay. I'm relieved to hear it. Listen, don't get me wrong. I don't want things to be different. I want them to go back to normal ASAP. So I'll be flying for the first time since COVID on Friday Saturday. I'm flying on Thursday, back on Sunday. So I'm excited about that. Just to check it out, get some firsthand experience. But you've done it like 3 times already, so you're like a past master at this stuff. I've only driven across provinces. Yeah. Leigh-Ann, you haven't been away at all, right?
No, not at all.
Got any plans to stop that at some point and get out there?
Oh, I haven't done it out of choice. It's just been, it's been difficult for me to spend money on things like travel at the moment.
Sure.
I mean, we need to remember I lost my business during COVID.
Right.
If I was given the opportunity, I would absolutely take it up and go to Durban or, to a game reserve or something like that. But I haven't had that yet.
Well, listen, that's a case for so many people. So I think it's not always just a choice. But if you haven't got away, it's nice to kind of break out of cabin fever for a little bit. If you do have the option, I think even if it's a day trip for some of us. Hop in the car.
Even just to change scenery and carry on working, that would even be fine. Just to have a different view, and you've got to eat, but go out to a nice restaurant or walk on the beach. I'd love that.
I said to some of my friends on Saturday afternoon, I just want us all to go out for a meal that isn't cooked by one of us. Go out and actually, but like eat really, really nice, not expensive or fancy stuff, but just really nice food that someone else has made. I'm sick of like homemade stuff, and I'm not a particularly good cook either. All right, everybody, that's about all we got time for this morning. We'll have to see you tomorrow at 6 a.m. bright and early. Have an awesome Monday and a great start to this nice short week. We will see you later. cliffcentral.com. Stick around.